All right. So, hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about culture shock. I will start out by explaining what culture shock is. Second, I will talk about the stages of culture shock. And third, I will share with how to cope with culture shock. First, I will explain what culture shock is. While on a recent trip, my first outside the United States, to Puerto Vallarta, I experienced culture shock. After landing and going through customs, you're sent into an area in the airport where before you can exit, you find is full of people trying to get you to come to the resorts that they're representing or trying to get you to buy excursions from them. These people are very persistent, and these people instantly sent me into culture shock because it was not something I was ready for, and it was something I had never experienced in the United States. Culture shock is the uncomfortable feeling of uncertainty that many people experience when immersed in unfamiliar surroundings. Culture shock can not only happen in the situation I was in, it can happen in many situations. For example, when you move away to college, when you move in with a new significant other, or if you join the military, just to name a few. Anytime you put yourself into a situation that involves a new surrounding or a new culture, you are at risk of culture shock. Culture shock was first defined as involving two processes. First, contact or immersion within a different culture, and second, the loss of a safety net or predictable social roles, cures, and or practices. Numerous other contributions to the original studies have added additional models, causes, and prevention techniques. Next, I will discuss the stages of culture shock. Culture shock occurs in 4 general stages, which are the honeymoon, the crisis, the recovery, and finally the adjustment. The honeymoon is the first stage. This is the stage that you experience fascination with the new culture and its people. It is similar to when you first date someone or get married, thus the name the honeymoon stage. During the honeymoon stage, you are aware that something is different, but you find it interesting, fun, and exciting, and it can hold your attention for a period of time. The change in this stage is welcome and accepted. The crisis stage is the second stage of culture shock. In this stage, the differences between your own culture and the one that you're now experiencing start to create problems for you. This is the stage where you feel out of place in your surroundings and you get the feeling of being homesick, and panic and breakdowns can occur. During the crisis stage, the change is no longer fun and exciting, rather, it is causing anxiety and stress. The recovery stage is the third stage, and it is where you start to gain the skills necessary to function within your new culture. During this stage, the feeling of being out of place and or homesick start to diminish, and you begin to feel comfortable in your new surroundings. In the recovery stage, your anxiety and stress about the situation begin to dull. The last stage, the adjustment stage, you start to enjoy your new culture and the experiences it offers. During this stage, it is common to still have periods where you fall back to the previous stages, but overall you find the new culture and surroundings to be very pleasant. At this point in the culture shock process, you should now be comfortable in your new surroundings. The most important thing to take away from going through the 4 stages is that the stages of culture shock are different for everyone, and it could take weeks or years for an individual to adjust, and it's unique to each individual. So now I'll discuss with you what you can do to cope with culture shock. To cope with culture shock, the best thing you can do is to practice some self-identification exercises. Some people seek out a counselor to do this kind of activity, and some people can do it on their own. In self-identification exercises, you identify what feelings you're having, and then you come up with a plan to deal with them or change them. The good news is that many individuals have the ability to positively confront these obstacles within their new environment. With time and each new event of culture shock, the self-identification exercises can become quicker and easier to do. So now you know what culture shock is and what the signs and stages are. and how you can cope with it, you may be more prepared to have better experiences outside of your home or your own comfort zone. So in conclusion, you should now understand that culture shock is normal, and how to identify the stages of culture shock, and a good way in which to cope with culture shock. So thank you for your time.